Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mykai Eastman, and welcome to the Arts and Conversation podcast. Here I have a very special guest today to talk about her art and film direction. We have Mya Effiong, and my co-host currently is Jedonn below me. So, again, thank you guys so much for taking the time to be here. And I guess I want to start off by saying, Mya, congratulations to you for graduating the film department at UT. And I know you probably have some other things down the road. You can share that with us real quick.
Yeah. Um, Actually, I graduated or in the art department. I'm actually a graphic design major, which people don't know because I'm so in the film department. But
I didn't know that. Yikes.
yeah, I'm also an animation minor, so I have my ties there too. But currently, I am not working, but I'm gonna be going to school in Vancouver in the fall, hopefully, if all of this clears up, for animation concept art, because that's really where I want to focus on.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah, congratulations on that.
thank you.
So, you have the unique ability as a film artist to approach directing from a standpoint that I commend you on because, quite frankly, it's something that frustrates me. I mean, there's so many little bits and pieces that I don't really like to get into, and I like to just kind of be, you know, boots on the ground, me, my actors,
Mm-hmm.
let's get it done. But
Right.
obviously, you have so many other things to worry about, such as the lighting on your set and the camera and the sound and things like that, and it's so many things to consider. So, how do you approach that going into it from the very beginning, like the pre-production process and things like that?
Right. Well, I think the most important part about film is that you're never doing it by yourself, because I know I would not be able to handle all of that. So, I mean, just being a student, or I was just a student, whenever I would make a student film, I would get as much help, like from my friends, whoever I knew, whoever they knew, as possible, because, being able to just direct, or maybe just direct and handle cinematography or whatever, it makes it a lot easier if I have someone else who's like, okay, I'll handle the lights, and like, you don't worry about that. So I usually start off by prepping immensely, which includes gathering people who can help me and planning out my shots, planning out, just overall what I want it to look like at the end, which helps the process a lot.
Yeah, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
I so I've made a couple student films.
Mm-hmm.
I made this one called Gemma, and I made this one called Detect that Jedonn was in. So, Jedonn, as an actor's perspective, how do you feel like the whole thing works around you from the film perspective?
Oh man, it was like jumping into a whole different world. It's the beauty of like being a stage actor mainly. A lot of people get to miss the little things that you do, but like when it's filmed, the camera's right there. Nobody really misses it. Like I watched Detect back and I'm like, "Ah, man, that face is kind of weird. That face was a little wonky." And then there were parts where I was like, "Yeah, I really like that little face that I did and that little movement that I did." It's very much you got to be conscious about where the camera is at all times. You got to be conscious about where people are going to be looking at you, because people aren't looking from a bunch of different angles. Instead, they're all looking from the one. So it's definitely like a different mindset that you got to that I had to get myself into doing Detect. It was fascinating. I'm glad I got to do it.
Yeah, actually, even whenever I work with new actors, or I always like pull my friends in just to be like, hey, can you please do this little part for me? The one thing they don't expect is like how many takes like we have to get, because as a stage actor, like you were saying, it's like, maybe you have 5 shows or whatever. You do it, people may see some things, they may not, and it's done. But like in film, you have to get that right shot. So it's like, okay, let's do it again. And they're like, ugh.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. Did Was there a specific scene, Mykai, that we had to like redo a ton of times? I know there were a lot we had to do a good like 5-6 times, including me just driving around a corner and pulling into the parking lot.
Yeah, that
Like,
was. Yeah. I think I would have to say it would be that final scene because it was that one shot that well we filmed it all in one take if I remember correctly about how you were running from one end of the garage into the other and then there's the banging on the garage you had to run towards and then you ran back and got the knife from under the counter and
yeah.
just sorry just the background real quick so detective is about it's about a detective who was let go from the police force because he was just mentally burned out but and he because he was trying to catch this killer he was like why does this killer keep finding me always a step ahead of me for some reason. Like because everything that I'm connected to, everything that I have grievances with, the killer always finds it first. And it turns out that his character, Phil, is actually the killer himself because he has a split personality disorder that he ends up chasing himself, kind of not the cat, the snake eating its own tail.
Mhm. Cool.
So. Uh, the climax of the film, he's running around the house because he received a note that the killer was in the house with him. And at that point, his boss calls on the phone, and yeah, that part we did have to get because our friend Hakeem, was it was a 3-person operation in the middle of the night at my grandparents' house, so.
Oh my.
Yeah, so he was not only the person, making the background noises and everything, but he was also the boss on the phone. And it was a lot of to make sure that the timing was right. We missed him just at that split second, so that he could be masked and then still making the sound and everything. So that took a while to film, I would say. I don't know, you got any of those little snafus that you had to work out, Maya?
Oh my gosh, with every single film. Like, let me. I don't know if I have a specific example. Well, okay. In the most recent film I made, I had everyone running around with boxes on their head, and so we were out in public, and that came with a lot of its own issues. And I mean, like literal boxes with like holes cut out for
Cardboard
eyes.
boxes.
Sorry.
Cardboard boxes?
Yeah, cardboard boxes. And so stuff like that, because I have my weird ideas that I throw at people and I'm like, thank you for helping me. But also with every film, I run into a lot of snags like people not showing up, or you're trying, like you said, you were trying to get this one thing to happen and you only have so many resources, so you have like one person doing a million things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just comes with the job, I guess.
Another thing that I like to do is I like to film my own trailers. So Jedonn is the actor I call upon most because he's the most reliable of
Right.
a lot of people that I know, and he's trustworthy and always available, and I really appreciate that. So
In a world where a lot of people don't always make themselves available, somebody's got to.
right,
Right.
so I will always put my head on the line to say yes, Jedonn will be reliable and worth it if you ever hire him. But I film my own trailers. That's something I like to do for my plays.
Mhm.
And you don't see too many trailers for plays, and it helps. It really does.
Right.
Specifically when we did my first play, Fool's Gold, that was funny because we
I watch it from time to time still. I love that trailer.
it was kind of a parody on Saturday Night Fever, and we filmed it on location around downtown Kissimmee and everything. And we had I had this burgundy zoot suit on. He had a blue one.
Mhm.
And it was just this buddy cop, Starsky and Hutch type of thing. And
Right.
as the information, it had nothing to do with the show at all.
Absolutely.
It was just 3 minutes of hijinks and hilarity between
Uh-huh.
characters because he and I played best friends in that play. And Specifically, one that comes to mind is when we have this dolly shot, and it's supposed to be a dolly shot, but it's not really a dolly shot. It's our friend Hakeem again, just walking backwards very steadily. And we're walking down Main Street in Kissimmee, and it's just it starts off at our feet, and the camera pans up to our faces and up and around behind our shoulders, and then there we are walking, and then I trip over I trip over a crack in the sidewalk.
Oh no.
And then I get up, I'm like, keep going, it's okay. We'll keep it.
Wow.
So that was something that was not on purpose. But I just
You made
leave.
it work.
It worked perfectly.
What matters.
If Zoom had better video quality, like it wouldn't be stuttering, I would show you. It was.
Oh my gosh.
Jedonn's face is priceless. He's just.
Like, what did you trip over, man? There's not a stick in the sidewalk. I was right next to it. I saw it. I'm like, what happened?
Over my own feet as I always do.
Oh my gosh.
It was just one of those golden moments that you couldn't write. It just kind of like, no, please keep it.
That's hilarious.
And then I had some of the greatest ice cream I had ever had.
Yes, we have freeze-dried ice cream to celebrate.
Sounds like a perfect day.
Not freeze-dried, I'm sorry.
No, it was liquid nitrogen, yes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love that.
Okay.
So good.
But yes, next I want to talk about the famous chicken or the egg question, right?
Ooh.
So excluding, things you have to make for class when the professors give you either a prompt or some sort of general idea, if you wanted to make something on your own, how do you feel your inspiration comes about?
I feel like the majority of what I want to make in general never really translates to the stuff I have to make for school or had to make for school, past tense. So I don't know, where do I get my ideas from, inspiration? Just from like the world around me. I do like to focus on specific themes. I think that's something I've noticed about myself. Like so both my parents are Nigerian, and so even though I wasn't born there, I'm from there too. I'm fascinated with other cultures and the conversation of immigration as a whole and stuff. So I just pull a lot from my real life, and I do make things on my own outside of class, usually during the summer, or Campus Movie Fest is something that happens at UT every year. So that's really when I felt like I was creating stuff for me or stuff that I wanted to create.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, having that type of background, that gives you a type of perspective that not everybody has.
Right.
So that you can bring that to the table is fascinating. It's actually really cool.
Yeah.
Campus Movie Fest is a good thing to talk about real quick because for those who don't know, Campus Movie Fest is a competition that this organization does. They travel around different schools and they give you a very decent set of starting equipment and even like a MacBook and everything, audio equipment, and you have a week to make a short film.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot. I think it starts from when they give you the equipment, right? And,
Yeah.
You have until a week from then to submit it, and everybody was really cool. I did it my first semester at UT,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, but it was also very stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. How do I say it? Stressful.
Stressful.
Well, because you gotta think about it. All right, you got a week, and by a week, you got probably like a couple of days,
right,
to shoot,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got to do the rest of depending on what you got to work with. your editing and all that jazz. I I took a leap of faith with my film. That was Gemma that I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I had the largest cast I ever worked with for Gemma. It was, I was trying to count in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people. Yeah.
Wow.
There's 12 people that I had to, I was like, okay, when is everybody available? And unfortunately, everybody was only available at 10:30 p.m. on a Tuesday night.
Gosh.
I said, okay. and, went in the plant park and we filmed the first scene, which took 2 hours. And the first scene, of course, was about 2.5 minutes for 2 hours.
Right.
And that was an experience that I'm glad that I've had, because at that point I was like, whew, is this for me? I don't know. I mean,
Maybe I should have been an accountant.
thankfully I had my friend Paige help me out, and she was a tremendous help. Like, she was
Mm.
assistant director slash boom operator slash camera 2, things like
Right.
that. And it was great. And we did that. And then the last scene was a trip because I was dead tired. And that Tuesday, I didn't have any morning classes, thankfully, but I had these back to back classes from 2 to 6. And it
Mhm.
was theater history and critical thinking. My two hardest classes back to back. And then I had rehearsal for a Macbeth from 7 to 10.
Wow.
Jeez,
So
that day
I,
must have felt like a fever dream.
yes, it basically did, because here I am now, and it was February too, so it was a little chilly outside.
Mhm.
I ended outside until the second scene, and this was about maybe 1:30 in the morning, and I was just like, oh my god.
Just questioning everything.
And I was questioning everything, because I was like, why did I do this to myself? Because this was a fight scene that I just had to get done in one take, right? So, I mean, one shot, excuse me.
Right.
So, uh, we it was an interrogation scene, and my friend Giara took the table, and she had to flip it over two people, then jump over said table and take her. She was bound by rope, and then wrap that around homeboy Chase and strangle him to death. And that took forever to get
I can
right.
imagine.
Oh
Oh my
my
gosh.
goodness! And I was,
In one take?
yeah, because at
Wow.
2 a.m. I was just like, "Is this never gonna work?"
Gee.
And then
Yeah.
thankfully, around 2:30 is when we got it. I said, "That's a wrap. Good night, everyone."
We're done.
I got class at 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah. All the respect in the world to film directors. Like, that's a level of patient that just I guess I'd have to be sometimes, but to be calling all the shots, I don't know if I could ever be. That's
It's like almost insane when you think about it. Specifically with Campus Movie Fest, like I did it every single year, and every single year I'd ask myself why I was doing this. Like it's always, without a doubt, the most stressful, but also the most rewarding like
Mhm.
experience for me. But like you were talking about Mykai, having like your friends, the people who you can count on, it makes it like so much better.
That's very true.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I love Campus Movie Fest. It really changed everything for me and like the scope of my time at UT, because I did it my first year and I won, and I wasn't
Oh,
like, that was the first film I'd ever made. So it gave me like so much like, oh my gosh. So I was a graphic design major, right? But I came into UT as a film major,
mhm.
just another fact, and I switched. So that's what I came in wanting to do, and then I won. The second year I didn't win, but I they used to have like a Tribeca campus doc thing
Right.
tied in with it, so I won that the second year. my third year I won, and then this last year I didn't, but it really shaped my entire like experience at UT. It was a big part of my life.
That's amazing, dude. Like
what? I can't hear you over my trophy.
there are people who've tried 4 times. Many people who've tried all 4 times and never won. Like for you to have won twice, especially your first go round, like I'd imagine that second time must have been pressure. So
It was.
the fact that you even got through it is incredibly commendable.
Thank you. Yeah. I guess it's just something I'm passionate about. So even though it's stressful, I just need to do it. It just has to happen.
And,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is that, I guess, I don't know, maybe if there's ever a film set where I could specifically just work with actors, then yeah, I could definitely do that. I don't know, there's just so much tunnel vision that I have that's not particularly conducive to film.
For film, right?
Yeah, and um, the greatest thing that I can ask for in the theater situation is that I have X amount of weeks or X amount of time with my actors, just us. So
Mm-hmm.
when it
Yeah.
comes to adding all the tech and everything, I was like, okay, you all go do your thing and go stand in that pool of light, and I'm gonna focus on this.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how my brain has to work. And
Right.
Again, more props to you for being able to go ahead and widen that scope a little bit, or
Yeah.
widen that shot. No pun intended. Pun intended. Um. So, do you have any particular inspirations that everybody has that film that they look at and they're like, I want to do this for the rest of my life, or
Right.
I want to do this at some point in my life.
Um, I don't know what that first inspiration was for me. I've kind of had like a long journey to get to where I am now.
It could be like it could be just a particular film. Just
Well, actually, I was going to say, um, me even being interested in film started off in theater because I was a huge theater kid in middle high school.
okay.
And so I think I've just always been fascinated by stories. And I think I get a lot of my inspiration actually from musical theater in a weird way. Like what specifically though? Do you know Urinetown?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like Urinetown? And
I was in Urinetown.
Yeah.
what did you say?
I was in Urinetown in high school.
Where? Oh my
Yes.
gosh. That's awesome.
I saw that performance.
I wish I could have seen it. It's literally my favorite show. But just that like the feeling of that show is something I often find myself trying to portray in film in a way. And films like Mad Max Fury Road, where it's just heavily visual and there's not a lot of dialogue at all, also fascinates me because I generally am a quiet person, and so I like visual storytelling. I like being able to like really know a lot of characters without a lot of like wordy, having to tell the audience what's happening. So I think films like that are really what inspire me to create. Also shows like BoJack Horseman. It's my favorite show. If you
I
know.
love that show as well.
Great show.
Yeah.
I'm trying to peg your style just by hearing those.
It's like kind of dark, kind of
Post-apocalyptic dystopias with
yeah,
talking animals.
talking animals. Somewhere around there. Yeah.
I love those. I really do.
Me too.
I can. I wish that's the one thing I do wish would happen is that theater and film could borrow a lot from each other. It doesn't necessarily have to be mutually exclusive. When I was watching The Hateful Eight for the 8th time, literally the 8th time, and that's when I got the idea for my play that I'm working on now, which is spaghetti western with a non-linear format of storytelling. And I was thinking about it. I was like, well, you know, people love westerns, but are there any western plays? Like, unless you want to count of Mice and Men, it doesn't even really count.
That's a little past the West.
It's a little bit of a stretch,
Right.
but there's a happy medium that I think that can be found between the two, because they always say that Dr. Luther will say this, that theater is the literary art form and film is the visual art form. And I was like, I agree, but you can. What makes a film a film? Is it just because it's on film? So if I have a play and I record it, does that make it a movie all of a sudden?
Right.
And you think about things like that, but you think about how can I enhance the experience for the audience as a whole, no matter what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I do a lot of my plays like I would do a film, or like how I would want it to be seen on film.
Right.
I think it makes it that more appealing to the audience per se. Um and I think that's an important thing to always keep in mind,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because we're just trying to tell stories to as many people as possible. Don't want to alienate anybody.
Exactly.
absolutely.
Do you have a favorite film director by any chance? If it's not you.
Oh, I don't know my favorite film director. I think Hayao Miyazaki. I love Studio Ghibli films, and I'm trying to transition over to animation in general, anyways. And he's just always been my biggest inspiration without even knowing that. I just love all of his films. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
probably
you
his best.
you could watch like a Miyazaki film in Japanese, no subtitles, and know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
And that's because actually he creates his storyboard. Like how do I word this? I don't think he comes up with his script initially. I think he lays the story out visually before adding like words.
Makes a lot of sense, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as you were describing, like, not wanting to use a bunch of words in order to explain what's going on, I immediately was like, oh, yeah, she said animation, and that makes perfect sense.
Right.
Because with characters, you can stress emotions and stuff, like make them move a certain way that you want to, and you can tell that story without having to walk in and be like, oh, I'm so tired, I've been at work all day.
Right.
You can just have people see it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of easier to kind of twist the way that you would want to, so that makes perfect sense, actually.
Right.
And Miyazaki being an inspiration for you also makes perfect sense, because he's fantastic at it.
Great.
I would love to see you.
Sorry?
I would love to see you.
The audio is getting a little fuzzy.
I was saying I would love to see you direct the play.
I can't hear you. I'm so sorry.
That's unfortunate.
Yikes.
It's like we heard the first part, we didn't hear the last part.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
You not hear me?
I can hear you.
It can, like, basically how it sounded was, I would love to see you. Like, that's how it sounded on my end, at least.
I would love to see you direct the play.
Me play.
Yes.
Okay. I would love to direct the play. I went to school in Vienna for a year, and I was in an in the IB program. Do you know what
Yeah.
IB? Yeah. And so I was in IB theater, and we had to direct a couple of short plays. So I don't really consider them actual things I've done, but in a way, I've kind of got a taste of directing for the stage, and I love it.
And it's because I was thinking about how in my directing class that I took last semester, our first assignment was to direct a play, like a short play that we had to create and devise that only had one word in it.
Oh wow.
And yeah, I mean, we could use that word however many times we wanted, but it had to be one specific word.
Uh-huh.
That's just what I thought of when you said specifically lay out the images first and then add
Right.
the dialogue and monologues and stuff
I
like that.
love that. What a
So
fun challenge.
it
Did you
was
enjoy it?
no, but I'm all about the text. That's what I
Right.
am. Looking at the words.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but I think if you directed a play, it would be fascinating because like plays, you don't have to worry so much about the little details. For example, if I was on stage, all the audience is at least a good 50, 60 feet away from me. We could
Right.
tell them that I was holding an iPhone like 15. I could be holding an iPhone 1.
Yeah.
Nobody would even know. But like to see somebody who's already got that detail oriented mindset, that meticulous kind of, no, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this. It'd be incredibly interesting just to see how well everything kind of translates and how much more fluid it is and how much more believable it all would be.
Yeah. That would be so fun. I would love to do that. I feel like I would be too detail oriented though. That might work against me, but
Well, it depends. I mean, you really work that in.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. If you're working with people who know the background that you're coming from and
Mhm.
kind of already see that happening, then they'll be all game. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Yes,
Well,
so.
I'm saying that if you came back to Florida and directed a play, I would love to.
Well, Mykai speaks very highly of you, so
I'm high, I guess. But like,
I got a couple of scripts that I would love to see directed by someone that's not myself.
excellent. There you
well,
go. We've already got 2 actors. We
right.
already got that.
Well, thank you so much again, Maya. It seems like Zoom is telling us that we're running out of time. But, you know, one day I'll get pro, and one day it will be an epic conversation that's too long. So,
Right.
but thank you all so much again, and I really appreciate it. Mya Effiong, ladies and gentlemen.